722 News Talk, WLOB. We stream our shows live at WLOBradio.com, and you can see us on WPME TV. Good morning, I'm Ray Richardson. Cloudy skies in Greater Portland, but it's not cloudy in here. A ray of sunshine has just walked in. State Representative Amy Volk, good morning. Nice to see you.
Good to see you again.
You look great. Wow.
Thank you.
That's an Audrey, I'm going to say it. I don't care. Your husband's watching. That's all right. That dress you have on is an Audrey Hepburn movie all by itself.
Thank you. My 13-year-old helped me pick it out.
That's a line from Jerry Maguire, by the way.
Oh.
I didn't do it originally, but it's still, anyhow. So what's going on? We haven't seen you in a while.
I know. I've been busy.
You've been very busy.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of legislation going on up in Augusta. You've taken on some big issues.
Yeah.
You guys are trying to close down the session. You've got another supplemental budget you've got to deal with. So tell us what's happening since we last seen you.
Well, I've had a couple of constituent bills that I've worked really, really hard on, and I'm pleased to say that both of them last week went through the House and the Senate with overwhelming approval. So
Which one, the camper tax bill?
The camper tax bill, yes, big one. That one's a big one for the state of Maine, and Bailey's Campground in Scarborough, in my district. This is an issue that is fairly complicated, but it definitely has big ramifications for the RV community and campgrounds all over the state. So
it reminded me a lot of the airplane bill that we have here in the state.
Absolutely, yeah.
If planes fly in, they get charged an excise tax. Drop back if you would. We played, Steve Minich actually interviewed you, I believe it was Steve, from Channel 8, and he did a nice segment. I actually played the whole segment on the air just to give people some context. But explain what is happening and what it is you're trying to do to fix it.
Yeah, well, there's three scenarios. So one scenario, which is what happened with Bailey's, is that they every year lease a number of campers, as many as 50 in a year, from a company in Vermont for the entire season. And so those are parked there, all summer long at Bailey's, and if you wanted to go there for the weekend or for the week with your family, you would go there, you would rent one of these rather than a cabin or bringing your own camper.
We go down to Bailey's, by the way.
Do you? Yeah, it's a great place.
Barney Martin from Coos Canyon is a good buddy, and they play on Saturday night.
Yeah,
so
they
go
have
down
entertainment.
And watch them. It's fantastic.
Yeah, every Saturday night. It's a big place.
Yeah, Bailey's is fantastic.
Yeah, they're one of the largest campgrounds in New England, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
they are. There's just so much to do there. We've never actually stayed, but we've come down and enjoyed the facility, and with Barney and Coos Canyon playing. And they've been doing that for, I don't know, 7, 8 years now.
Yeah.
Which is just a fun place. They've got a band shell there.
Yeah.
So even if you have bad weather, you can still, you're outdoors.
You never have bad weather in the summer in Maine, right?
Well, that's true. That's true.
So what happened is that this company in Vermont received a letter from Maine Revenue Services saying that going back 6 years, they were expecting them to pay the full sales tax on the value of every camper that has spent a summer in Maine. And essentially, that's going to put this guy in Vermont. It could potentially put him out of business, unfortunately.
All right, so explain that for a moment. These are in Bailey's from, let's say, May to Labor Day.
Yep.
As an example.
Yep.
So it's, 4 months.
Right.
But you would pay the Maine sales tax?
On the full value.
Every year?
No. One time on any camper that has spent, the way the law reads, any camper that spends more than 24 hours in the state.
But Bailey's wasn't buying these.
Nope.
They were renting them or leasing them.
Correct.
So I thought a sales tax was based on sales.
Well, this is actually called a use tax.
Oh, the use tax.
But it's equal in value to a sales tax, and it's applied the same way. And Maine Revenue is expecting, since Vermont does not charge any sort of a sales tax on, and neither do any other states actually that we know of.
Well, it's across state lines.
Right, but it's also, if Vermont had charged them a sales tax, they would not have to pay again in Maine. But Vermont doesn't, nor does any other state, because it's a silly tax. Because normally, if you're purchasing something that you're going to be renting out, that's a business transaction. So there's no sales tax involved. Most of these guys who are leasing campers are also dealers, and so eventually they are going to sell that camper as a used camper but they're going to sell it, and at that point in time, someone will pay a tax.
So if someone comes in, put aside the dealer for a moment, if someone comes in from Massachusetts and brings their camper up here to stay a week, are they subject to the use tax?
No, not if it is their personal vehicle, but the way the law reads, if they have rented that vehicle for the week, then the way the law reads, conceivably, MRS could go back to the owner of that leased camper and say, your camper was in the state of Maine more than 24 hours, you have never paid a sales or use tax on it in any other state, you owe it to us. That's why it's potentially devastating to the RV community.
So I live in the Berkshires in Massachusetts, and I decide I want to come to coastal Maine. We'll go to Bailey's, okay?
Yep.
So I decide I will rent a camper in Lee, Massachusetts, and I'll drive up to Maine because that's what I want to do. I want to know what I'm getting before I get there. The Maine revenue could track that back down to Lee, Massachusetts, even though I'm here for a week and it's a private use, it's not commercial use or anything like that, and charge the company in Lee, Massachusetts, a full sales tax for the week.
Yes.
So if
on the value of the camper. So if it's $100,000 camper,
it's $5,000.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. However, let me just say.
Why would any business want to come to Maine?
Well, let me just say, Maine Revenue has stated repeatedly they have no intention of doing that. They call that a transient visit. They have no intention of trying to go after those sorts of transient visits to the state.
Yeah, but that's also what they said about the airplanes that fly in here.
And the way the law reads, they could.
Right.
So the problem is the RV community is very tight-knit across the country.
Sure, of course it is.
They're very well connected, and they all know about this now. The cat is out of the bag.
So are we going to fix it?
I hope so. The House and Senate have passed it, and we just really need appropriations. There's a $100,000 fiscal note on it. We need appropriations to really see the value. And what we're proposing is actually an offset. A couple of points.